really have success. My why is a little different than most people's whys because it wasn't about, creating a better life for my family. It wasn't about any of that originally when it first got started. My why was all 100% focused on revenge. Okay. It sounds crazy to say it, but I was an owner of a business. I had, you know, 55 employees, Nextel phones. We ran the whole gamut in Maryland with two-way radios, police and fire departments, Nextel radios all over the place. And it was a company that was doing about $12 million a year in business. And then Sprint came along and just completely dismantled the whole thing. And that was really a humbling experience for me because when you're the CEO of a company that's thriving and then someone out of your control comes in and does something like that, and then it forced me to look for something else, right? It forced me to look outside the box. And fortunately for me, someone had contacted me about this small energy company that was coming into town, and I should take a look. So I looked at it and I was like, what's this network marketing thing? Like, what you got to go and beg and plead and borrow to have success. And so, but what I liked was the actual service. I was like, this makes sense to me. This, I couldn't imagine doing a lot of other stuff in the network marketing space, but for some reason, energy made sense to me. So when I first got started, I was super excited. When you're ignorant, you don't know anything about it, but you're excited. So I went out there and there's the guy in my town that is like the guy, how you always say, if I could find that guy or that girl, oh my gosh, you're always looking for that person, but you need to realize that you are that person, right? So I had this one fella in mind. And I was like, if I could get this guy, he knows everybody in town. If I could get him, boom, game over. So I worked up the courage and the confidence because I was new. And I sat down and he agreed because I called him and said, listen, I need your advice. I'm found something I think is so special. And I want your advice on how you would kind of market this thing. And he said, he agreed to meet with me. Ed, sure, I'll do anything for you. You're a great family, blah, blah, blah. So we sat down at a restaurant and we were having breakfast together. And I was like, the best thing for me, I said to the guy sitting right across from me at the table, and I said, the best way for me to share with you the information about this business opportunity is just to show you a short video. So let me do that. I set up my computer, I put it out there and I push play. And it wasn't within 5 seconds that gentleman took the screen and shut it down. And he was like, Ed, what's going on? What's happening in your life? Like, is everything okay? We're at church. I see you there. Should we be praying for you? Has poop hit the fan in your world? And I'm sitting there like, what do you mean? He's like, you're doing one of those things, you, Ed Kenny? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, Ed, these things never work. I don't care. And I was like, you don't even know what it is. And he totally, here was the guy that was bigger than life in my eyes. And he totally sucked all the oxygen out of me. And it really hurt. It stung. So I called my brother, Brendan. And I'm like, Brendan, the gig is up. So the gig is up. I'm done. I can't ever go through that experience again. So we're going to have to, I'm going to have to find something else. He's like, what happened? Tell me what happened. I said, well, I was with this huge guy and he just shut the computer screen down. He said, it'll never work. And Brandon's like, well, what does he know about it? Does he know something? Because at that point, we didn't even know Michael Falquist. We didn't know anything. It's like, does he know the CEO? Does he know something bad happened? Tell me what happened. I was like, no, he didn't even watch the video for more than 5 seconds. He's like, Ed, who cares? Who cares? Just get over it. So it took me about 3 days, but that's when I formed my why. I was like, I will be damned if I'm going to let this person do this to me. And I decided to just go for it. And 2 years later, he came up to me and he goes, Ed, I've been watching you and you found the one that worked. And I was like, oh, don't even give me that. I was like, you could have been right there with me. But it's funny what will motivate someone. And the rejection really motivated me because I knew I was onto something special, right? So anyway, that's just, that's kind of how I got my introduction and my real oomph to go out there and share this with as many people as I could. Because once I got over that really hard situation, as being brand new in the industry. Nothing else has come close to that experience. But then fast forward to, the last 4 years of my life, I've been really fortunate to have been introduced to the community solar business. Okay. Ironically, when Michael Falquist sold the company Viridian, he continued to pay everybody. That's what's great about Michael Falquist. No matter what, he's going to take care of his people, right? His advisors. So he sold the company, had to go for 3 years into a non-compete zone for that sale. But he told me and my brothers to go and introduce ourselves to this gentleman who is doing community solar. He goes, trust me, guys, you're going to learn a lot from this guy. So we went and we met with this gentleman who was in the community solar business in Maryland in a little crab house down in Baltimore. And he told us about community solar. And all we could sit there was say, like, how is this possible? What's the downside? What are the negatives? And there were none. There were none. It was the first time it was a pure play in our experience where we didn't have to worry about rates. We didn't have to worry about being the cheapest or being the best. Or we just had to get people educated on what community solar was. The rest will take care of itself because it's a guaranteed state benefit for 20 years without any downside. There's no risk for the customer. It's a beautiful thing. So our first job was to fill a farm in a remote area in Maryland, the Potomac Edison market, which we didn't really have a big team there, but we had enough people where we could rally a group of 10 people together. And we had 500 homes that we had to fill on this farm. And they had been trying to fill this farm for a year, and they only got about 100 customers on it. So then Richard meets us and we say, okay, let's take a stab at it. We'll get the farm filled. Within 2 months, we had that farm filled, buckled up, sealed, and delivered. And then that gentleman said, boy, I've never seen anything happen that fast. How did you do it? We said, well, we took, at that point in time, we got the commission and we got people and we paid them ourselves, right? So we said, we don't want to be in the business of paying people and stuff like that. We want you to create a program for us to be able to go and fill other farms. So we worked pretty closely with this gentleman for a 4-year period. We probably put on about 20,000 customers, but here was the problem, or the challenge, I should say. In the community solar world, if you're just linked up with like one developer, there's hundreds of developers out there, but if you're just linked up with one, you only have the inventory of what that one developer has to offer. So they might have a farm in Maryland today that's good for 1,000 homes. They might have a farm up in New York that's good for 2,000. But once you take the time and energy to build a sales force and you fill those farms, that's it. It's kind of like stop and go and stop and go. And if anybody's built a sales team before, you realize the kiss of death is not having the ability to continue to have a product to sell. If you have to stop and go, your salespeople are going to leave and go do other stuff. And it's just, that is the challenge, right? Every single one of these community solar developers has the challenge of filling their farms because they can't turn the farms on and create profitable revenue until the farms are full. Okay. So think about that. I go and raise all this capital, millions of dollars. I do all the work with the land and all the engineers and stuff. I go and I'm really smart. Okay. I'm good at financials. I'm good at all these things. And I build this farm. But now what do I have to do? I have to fill it. I have to fill it with 1,000 or 2,000 homeowners. How do I do that? Now I got to figure out how to build a sales force, and I build that sales force. And then they say to me, what happens after we fill the farm? I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. So they're all dealing with the same exact challenge of having the continuity of a sales force is the key to unlocking the true potential of what community solar is going to offer all of us in the next 10 years. Because right now, there's 21 states that have community solar programs, that are state programs. There's 5 others that are currently in legislation to have it. They'll definitely go through, they'll pass. And then that's about half the country right there. The rest of the country will fall in the next 5 years. So it will be full-blown 50-state community solar in the next 5 years. But we have a great start right now because we're already launched our first 2 community solar farms. Now, I want you to think about this. most of the folks that are on here, I'm going to assume that they've been in the energy space in some capacity. Is that a fair assumption?
Most of them have been involved in some capacity in the energy space, or in the energy business space. Yeah.
Okay, so that 4-year interlude I was telling you about, where we learned a lot about community solar, it was missing key ingredients for us to be really excited, which was one, residual income. Residual income is what I am motivated by. Really, I won't want to do jobs to get a one-time payment, right? I like to build something that will last, be sustainable. So if you look at where we are, we have great third-party energy supply, 36-month fixed rates in all of our markets, right? And I think everyone's going to come to realize that over the next 3 years, energy prices are going nowhere but north. So we have a great foundational product to go out to market with. But now add in community solar, an additional guarantee benefit to the customer, an easy conversation to have. Hey, customer, have you heard of the Maryland State Community Solar Program? It's a program offered by the state for you. Okay. If you don't take advantage of it, you're losing out, because anybody that gets on the farm is going to save money guaranteed off their utility bill for the next 20 years. That's an easy phone call. It's an easy conversation. You don't have to deal with what happens if rates do this, what happens if that happens. So it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. But the amount of money that's involved, and the one that can build the sales force that's continuous, it continues to grow and gets bigger and bigger and swells up, will win the community solar market completely 100%. Think about us. Think Energy is the hub. All right. We're the hub. Hundreds of community solar developers are out there, all challenged with the same issues. How do we get a sales force? How do we fill this? Once they fill it, say they fill 1,000 unit farm, 1,000 home farm. Okay. A year goes by, 5% attrit, they move away, and they have a hole in the farm now. It's not maximizing the revenue, the potential of the farm. They have to go out and continually find customers to fill in that 5%. Next year, another 5%. So there's going to be a continual need to continue to get customers, even if a farm has been filled. So you put us as the hub, and you put a spokes out to every single community solar developer out there. They all have those same challenges, knowing that Think is the solution. Think is the one that if they contract with us, not only will their farms get filled overnight, all the attrit will get filled as we go, just continually, good nonstop. We'll always be bringing in new customers. We're going to start getting really good about putting on waiting lists. Like right now, we're in New York State and Maine. We're going to be going into Maryland and Virginia and Illinois, and Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And when we know we're about to launch in a new market, we will have a waiting list where customers can pre-enroll. And all of a sudden we get the contract that starts in, say, May in Maryland, and we already have 3,000 customers on the waiting list ready to go on that farm. Boom. What used to take a year will now take a day. And that's what they're paying for. That's what they want. And the company that can solve that problem for them is the one that is going to win all the business. So we've got a couple of things. We've got a really good upfront payment from the compensation plan for a tier 1 community solar market, $60 for everyone who gets a customer, and a 20-year residual income, okay, with level pay and code pay. So if you think about this business, right now people ask me, what would you be doing today? What would I be doing today if I were smart and I wanted to own a percentage of the nationwide community solar market? Well, I would simply just get on the phone and call as many people and sell the vision of what this company's about. And I would start off with building teams that are getting electric supply customers, because you know that no matter what, every electric supply customer you get will be a potential community solar customer tomorrow when we do get a community solar farm in that state. And you will have a moment in time. Let's say you focused on a place like Maryland and you were out you got 100 advisors and they all had 10 customers each, right? And you got 1,000 customers. And then we go and we get a farm here with 2,000 or 3,000 customer farm. Well, you've got 1,000 new customers just like that. And then the momentum is going to blow up. Everyone is your 100 advisors will grow to 1,000 advisors within a month or two, because it's really exciting when community solar comes to light. So we're at the stage right now where you've got this seed of a company. We just launched a month ago. We've done a great job of launching 12 electric supply markets with DC included, and we've got 2 community solar farms under our belts. The sales on those farms, we're up over 400 sales a day right now just on those farms, and it's only been since Saturday that they announced. So if you want a piece, and I believe that this company will be $1 billion company in very short order, but in Viridian, the first company that I was with, right, that was my transition into network marketing, we always used to say, if we could get to 1 million customers, that would be amazing. And we did. We got to 1 million customers, but we never actually had more than about 600,000 at a time paying, right? You go get 5,000 customers in a month and you'd lose 3,000 out the back door, because it was short-term rates. It was trying to compete with millions of other suppliers. And we were like, Michael, we're not interested in any of that anymore. We don't want to go get customers and lose them. We want to get customers and partner with them. We want to get them on good long-term fixed rates with the ability to plug in community solar and eventually get the software Proton and have that true partnership where a customer would never want to leave us. And forget about 1 million customers. We want 10, 20, 30 million customers. And that's what Think Energy has put together for all of us, is that company that can scale to millions of customers without losing customers. The only thing we want to lose customers over, and we don't want to lose them for any reason, but if they move to a state that's not deregulated, it doesn't have community solar, there's nothing we can do. But if that's the only lose we get, we'll be happy people.
No, thank you for that. That's powerful. I want to ask you a question, because you were with Michael before at Viridian, right?
Yes.
What did you see here? I mean, a lot of us have been with companies, network marketing and not, right? But when a CEO goes somewhere else, what was it that made you say, okay, I'm going to go, he sold Viridian $500 million, but what made you see the vision here as just as a business person? What did you see here that you said, okay, you got the community solar part, but what else was it that made you say, this is the place I need to go?
Well, that's a great question. So Michael Falquist, over this period of 13 years that we've known him, we've become friendly with him. Like he's a normal human being. He's a CEO of a company, but he's a regular person. And we just know that Michael, when he goes in on something, he goes in to win. He does not go in to be second fiddle to anybody. And when we first met him, he was 32 years old. That was probably my biggest hesitation, actually. I was older than him by 10 years. Okay. And I'm sitting there saying, what's this young kid gonna do for me and my family? But after a couple conversations, I started to become a lot easier with the whole thing. And I'll tell you, there's a story that I don't know if a lot of people know, but Michael Falquist was working for Macquarie Bank back in 2007 and 8. And there was a whole downsizing of the energy business. It was a disaster. And there was this company that had like 67,000 regular electric customers in Texas. And Michael Falquist was told by the bank to find a buyer for those customers. Emergency, get rid of these customers, find a buyer. So he started putting it out there, and he found a small company called Ambit. And he started talking to Ambit, and he realized that Ambit was growing like crazy and all these other companies were doing nothing. So he sold the customers to Ambit, and he said, what a genius business model these people have. And he took that business model, took it for himself, left the bank, and boom, went up to Connecticut and started Connecticut. So that's how Viridian started.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So he got the idea from Ambit. Now, so Falquist we've always kept in touch with him, and we know that whatever he touches turns out to be like gold. And he said to us, guys, I'm making another run at it. You've learned a lot about community solar. I would love for you guys to see the vision that I put down. And to be honest with you, at first, we were kind of like, I don't know, man, that energy deregulation business is kind of played out. And I don't know if it's going to get us as excited, but we certainly, if Michael's going to show us something, his vision, and he's going to welcome us into his house, we're not going to say no. So we went up there. And when he laid out the vision of what Proton and community solar on top of third-party energy can do, we were all in. By the time we left that house, we were like, when can we get started? That was probably the biggest challenge for 5 months. We knew what was going to happen, but we really couldn't do much about it. We'd have weekly calls with Michael to kind of put things together. We got Tony Procopio involved because Tony was big with Ambit, and he had a lot of perfect things to add to the equation, things that really worked at Ambit, to institute into kind of the framework for the compensation and the framework for the free energy club and stuff. But Michael's vision for this is all about long-term sustainability. He's basically saying, you found your home here. For anybody that gets involved and goes to work, you will find your home here, and probably your last resting place into retirement, because that's what this company is setting up to do for people. This isn't going to be a short run. This is going to be a long-term sustainable business, because we're building it that way from the beginning. We're not going out there trying to be the best rate. We're not putting 3-month teasers out there, and then we're not going to have a new customer rate and an old customer rate. We're going to do it smart, where people understand that they're coming in and partnering with us long-term. Like right now in Maryland, I know right now we're 23% above the utility price. I know how Maryland works. Maryland's a 3-year laddered portfolio, and they just got stuck with their first really high year. But before that, they had 2 really cheap years. So they're going to get rid of a cheap year coming up and put in another expensive year. And then they'll have one more time at that next year. They're going to have 3 years of high prices. And if energy prices ever come down, Maryland is going to be a gold mine. But I know that in October, our prices will be pretty much neck and neck. And from that point on, I'm going to be saving money with being on Think. And then I'm going to get community solar. And then I'm going to get the Proton, because we have smart meters in Maryland. Maryland is a smart meter market. Just a little bit on the smart meter market. So when Michael has to procure the energy, right, he looks at the profile of the customer. Okay. And you can have a customer that is a big, heavy energy user, but they're not profitable because they have a pool and they're heating their pool and they're heating it at demand times, like when energy's at high prices. So for a third-party supplier, that's not a profitable situation, because he's always having to buy energy at higher prices. Where what Proton does is it says, hey, if you shift some of your load at your house from daytime high demand times to low usage times or low demand times, the price that I can procure the energy for is a lot cheaper. I can buy 3-cent energy at nighttime in Maryland, but during the day, I'm going to pay 10 cents or 9.87 cents. So if I shift some of my load, I become much more profitable to Think, and they're going to share that profit back with me as a bill credit. That's when that happens and people really understand what that software can do. They'll have wished that they had built a huge business before they found out what that technology could really do.
Wow. That, and those are all the components of our value. And so, with some of the leaders on here, I want to shift a little bit to what everybody tries to understand, right? Is the infamous comp plan, right? And so, I've got to spend some time with Brad, but foundationally, there's a urgency to build the foundation of this. And the more and more I understood how you guys just blew the Ambit comp plan out the water. But can you give the folks just some foundation of the compensation plan and where they should focus over the next 90 days while we're in the promotion?
So I think it's pretty simple, and keeping things simple is always the best. Mm-hmm. Everyone should go out there and get 8 customers. That just be the first thing. You wake up tomorrow and just get your 8 customers any which way you can. Now, for us, we have a large family, right? But we have a sister who has a house in Nantucket Island, beautiful place. And it costs a ton of money to heat that house in the wintertime. So she closes the house down. So what we decided to do was get her to sign up. And then we all signed up under that meter for the free energy club so that she could keep the house open full year round. So we get a double benefit from it of keeping the house open full year. But bottom line is that's going to take care of our personal customers, right? Which is a really important thing because it's really hard to teach others to do this business without having done it yourself. So the key is you got to get your personal customers out of the way. So everyone should go out and get 8 personal customers. If you get 2 or 3 and introduce them to the free energy club and get 8 any which way you can. That's number one, because then when you go to get a new person on board, they can see that you've already gotten customers, right? That's obviously an important thing. But then focus on getting that 500 team customer points, right? Things like right now in Maine and New York, for every community solar customer you get, you're going to get 2 points. Okay. So if you get a house if you know someone in New York State, you sign them up as an electric customer, that's 1 point. You get another 2 if they become community solar customers as well. Those 2 points will stay with you for life, the life of the customer. They're not a short-term thing. So take advantage of that. We really want to show how fast we can grow with community solar for the developers to be able to see. We're kind of have the microscope over us right now. So the faster we can fill these farms, the quicker we'll get new projects and the more we'll get ones in Maryland and Virginia and all over the place. So focus on, 8 customers and a team of 500, get on that trip, come hook or crook. Because that group of people that are on that first inaugural trip, they're going to have a special bond. First and foremost, they're going to have, wow, you were able to do it, you were able to do it, and it just kind of that first inaugural feel. And then when they come back from that trip, the amount of energy that they're going to put into building their businesses is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. Because when you go on a trip like that, you got Michael Falquist, you got Brad, you got the executive team, and you get to sit in on some pretty high level meetings about the future of the company. And I don't know about you, but I love being part of that. I love being part of that initial stake. People that come into this business 3 or 4 years from now, they'll have it easy. It'll be easy to build, right? Because we'll have already done all the hard work. But the intimate relationship that they have with the executive team will be much more difficult to obtain at that later stage. So we all have that right now because you only get to launch once. So my simple path is just go out there and get your 8 customers and get 3 and teach everybody to get 8. You're shooting for director, right? This whole compensation is a directory factor or director factory, right? Get directors and have them get directors and so forth and so on. So just teach 8 personals, 500 team, 8 personals, 500 team, and try to work with your team to get that going. It will work. It'll take on a life of its own. And if you do that now, when community solar comes into some of the markets that you've really got momentum in, it's going to take those markets and send them into the stratosphere. It's going to take your business and send it in the stratosphere because everyone will automatically get community solar. For every electric customer that comes in right now, they'll automatically get community solar when it's available because it's a no-brainer.
No, thanks for that. What I want to do is that if you are on, I want to kind of give some of the leaders who are building in different markets. We have people in I see some, we have David on from Israel. We have folks that are in markets that we're not in yet. Talk a little bit about building outside of a market, outside of those 12 markets.
So I think I would be good at getting if I had to build from out of the markets, I would focus on markets like Maine and like New York and Illinois, and basically a couple of different things you can do. Social media, friends of friends, if you're in LinkedIn, friends of friends that live in Maine, friends of friends that live in New York. if 1 degree separation, if you don't know them personally, then reach out to them and say, hey, we both know Tom Callahan or whoever the mutual person is. I really want to talk to you about something. Do you have a few minutes? Just get aggressive with doing that type of marketing where you're just going in kind of cold but warm, right? You've got a lead in with someone's name, or go into your phone. A lot of times, there's thousands of contacts in our phones. Go in and look up some of the most popular zip codes in states that are good, like Illinois is a no-brainer. Maine, New York, those are no-brainer states. There's certain pockets in Pennsylvania right now that are no-brainers. Get the zip codes, or not the zip codes, the area codes, pop them into your contacts. And like if it's 713 or 508 or whatever, and see what numbers pop up in your phone. And then start making a list that way of reaching out to those people. That's what I would be doing.
No, thank you for that. That is key for a lot of folks. Now, what I want to do is give let me just time box us. We got about 5 minutes that I want to just give you guys. There's some of you who have questions. I want to make sure your question, if it's not tech, I don't want it to be a technical support question. We'll deal with those. But if you have a business question that you want to ask Ed, I want you to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that question to give you guys a few minutes to ask some things that you're working on.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure.
Sure. So I just tuned in. I don't know if anyone.
Say who you are. Say who you are first and where you're calling from.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm Perry Singh from New York City, Bayside, New York to be exact. So my question is, which zip code in New York that we can actually enroll customer that are ready for solar opt-in?
I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll send you the list. I have the list, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's any utility in the state outside of Con Ed. Okay, so it's every other utility other than Con Ed. Con Ed is the 5 boroughs and
Right.
Westchester, but we just added O&R, Orange and Rockland, into the fray. Here's something that you should know. If you know anybody in Westchester, Con Ed, it's about 145,000 customers there. Every single one of them has been aggregated to Constellation Energy at 15.3 cents for the next 18 months. Well, our rate right now is like, I don't know, 12.9 or something.
12.9. Yep.
So it's like a shooting fish in a barrel in Westchester, Con Ed, down the road from where you live.
I see. Oh, that's great. So yeah, I will actually focus in those areas. I'll bring some of my teammates and work that area because I'm lucky enough to have an RV that is 36 feet long, so we could hang out and have a good time. So yes. I'm gonna shoot on those states to really maximize, what's going on right now. Thank you.
And we will be getting community solar in Con Ed as well. But here's what happens, because it's all about land. Land is finite in Con Ed, but there are a lot of commercial projects that can happen on rooftops. They're good for about 250 to 500 customers, these little farms, but we get them. And when we get them, they come and they fill up like super quick. So just be plugged in, because all of a sudden you're going to get an announcement that Con Ed has community solar for up to 500 people. First come, first serve, fill it, and will be happening.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet. Great question.
Perry, great question. Great question, man. Any other questions? I want to make sure I give you guys some time. Don't be shy. All the questions you guys ask me. All right. So I want to give, because we have about 15 minutes before the 8 o'clock presentation. So Ed, kind of with the leaders, kind of how would you, you've talked about a few things, where they should focus, in-state, out-of-state compensation plan. So right now getting on the trip is really big to Punta Cana, right? So So now, with leaders like this, and you know how for leaders, you got multiple things going on, right? And I know a lot of you guys on the call tonight, some of you have businesses, some of you have a lot of different things going on. Just as we kind of close out, just share the importance of picking a focus, right? Because it's hard. Like it's hard, guys. I've owned a company, a consulting firm for 20 years, but I'm picking a focus right now because I know that all in here is going to build something that's going to pay me for possibly 20 years. So what's the importance of picking that focus? And even though that may be a challenge for some folks, why would you push people to do that?
Well, I'd say that the gift that we all have right now at this particular moment in time is the fact that we're in the beginning stages of this company, right? So the time that you focus today on a company like ours at the stage that we are is worth a lot more than it would be in 2 years right now because the horse will have left the barn at that point. It'll get easier, but it won't be the same. So right now, if you have a 90-day kind of, 90% of all the money that you earn from this over your lifetime can come from the first 90 days that you invest into building this. If you make an effort over the next 90 days to just put that extra focus and that extra time allotment to this, like forget about Netflix, forget about HBO, forget about news, forget about any of that crap, and take that time that you would have allocated there and put it into this for the next 90 days. Amazing things can happen, but it's really, this is the time to do it. It's not in 90 days. It's not when we do have community solar in our market. It's not when everything is perfect. This is the beginning, and there's only one time a company launches, and that's where we are right now. So that's what I would say is if you can find that extra time to put into this, it will be worth it.
No, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you. I just want to give some quick basic announcements, guys. What I've done is put together for all of your new EAs a quick site for you to use. It just go to start. I'm gonna put it inside the inside the chat. It's gonna be start.thinkenergy.biz. Okay, and what that is, it'll have our quick start training. It has an 8-minute video, and it'll allow you to help a new person get started really quick. And all the tools are there for them to get started. So just start.thinkenergy.biz. It's just a few links so somebody can just start right away. It has their login for their back office, their free energy. They can go there and log in. But ultimately, it's just a way for you to quickly connect somebody. And so you guys can unmute. Let's thank our founding consultant for spending some time with us.
Julius, this is Tom. I actually came up with a question for Ed.
All right,
based
Tom.
on something he said.
Okay.
Ed, I'm Tom Hazelton. I'm in Illinois.
Meet you.
You mentioned that there are 22 states or thereabouts that currently have community solar programs, either in legislation or actually passed, or maybe even more. Does that imply that at some point we'll be able to get community solar customers in states that are not deregulated?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh,
that's kind of a big selling point.
Oh, big time. Like in California, for example, or Washington or Oregon, Minnesota. These are states that we won't have deregulated energy, but we will be able to get community solar.
Okay.
And you can, in all the states that we're in right now, if the rates are unfavorable, it's like a challenge to sell, you will be able to do community solar without that. So it's not an all-in. You don't have to be a Think Energy electric supply customer to be a community solar customer as well. They're two totally separate things.
Yeah, we don't have the rate problem. You came up with a great rate in Illinois.
Yeah, no, you guys are in the honey hole there.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, the rate from Think is actually lower than ComEd is now, and ComEd's about to have a big boost in their rate. ComEd is the utility company here.
It's a home run out there.
Yeah, I believe it's probably the cheapest.
Yeah, we will have community solar out there. My guess is in the next 2 to 3 months.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I know one of the questions in the chat, because we do have some of the leaders on. We have some big leaders out of California on the call. That everybody's asking about timing of community solar in California. Is there any data, legislation data out there on California and where they're at in the community solar space right now?
No, there isn't. It's going to be a huge market for us. I do know that when it happens. It's just the developers. Once the developers can see what we're capable of, we're going to be the one. We're going to have exclusives with these developers because we're going to be able to demand it. We're going to be able to say, hey, if you want the farms filled fast, we don't want any competition. We want the whole thing to ourselves, and we'll get it. Believe you me. But I don't know what time frame we're talking about for California. I wish I did, because I would love to go move out there for 6 or 7 months and crush it. I lived out there with Merrill Lynch. I was in San Francisco for 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, yeah, Ed, I was at Dean Witter in San Francisco
Is that right?
about 10 years before you.
In the 80s.
Early 90s, before
Oh,
Glass
early
TV
90s.
came out.
Yeah, I was there from 92 to 2002.
Oh, well, I moved there around 92.
Yeah, I worked at Montgomery Securities for
Okay.
2 years, and then I graduated to Merrill Lynch because I wanted to eventually move back east. I wanted the ability, if I built a book or something, I could move back east.
Yeah, I was in municipal finance at Dean Witter.
Nice. That's funny. Where'd you live?
Do you know where you know where the Ritz-Carlton is?
Yep.
Directly across the street.
Ah, cool. I was in Bob Hill.
Yeah,
Right.
we did the same thing. We were probably neighbors. Maybe we know each other from back then. Who knows?
Yeah.
Small world, right?
Venicello's was my favorite restaurant.
That's one of my favorite restaurants when I was out there.
Yeah, it's so nice. I lived right down the street from it.
So I have my Texas folks joined. So the Texas folks are on, and they're ready to start their launch meeting. So what can you tell us about Texas?
Listen, Texas is going to happen. We say right now in late 2023, early 2024, it's going to be happening a lot sooner than that.
I love it.
All I can say.
Look,
I plan on the first convention is going to be in October. I don't have the exact dates or location, but it's going to be in October. So
okay.
It'll be a lot of deliverables. That's going to be a huge event because we're going to have so many things to deliver at that event, like mind-blowing things,
Yeah, that's going to be, I'm excited. So you guys got 5 minutes. We have the corporate opportunity meeting coming on right after this. So what I want you guys to do, just, every night, 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday, guys, we have a meeting. Ed, you've been doing what, Monday? You've been doing a Monday meeting and what, Monday and Wednesday, or just Monday?
Typically Monday, Wednesday. I kind of take whenever I'm available when they need me, I go in.
Yeah. So it's our opportunity to invite your guests to that. You guys got to spend some personal time with Ed, but just know that let's leverage those things. If you guys use that start.thinkenergy.biz site, the link to that meeting is on there. So you guys don't have to worry about remembering stuff. It's one link for your whole team with everything you need. 8-minute presentation, everything that's going on. So you don't have to overthink it, guys. Go ahead and unmute, give Ed a big thanks. Thank you, Ed, for the time. I really appreciate you.
Pleasure's mine, guys. Pleasure's
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you,
Ed.
Ed.